Welcome everyone, Costini here with a discussion about Total War Warhammer 3 Thrones of Decay. Let's talk about Nurgle because Creative Assembly has detailed what is coming for Nurgle in the next patch. And it is a major update, the likes of which Kislev and Sinch really needed and didn't get, unfortunately. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself too much over here, but I'm going to say it out loud. This looks amazing, what they're actually doing over here with Nurgle. So let's look over here over what Creative Assembly has done, and let me give you my thoughts on this particular subject. So Tamargun, the Maga Lord, we already got a bunch of this detail in the initial announcement. It does seem he's going to be focused on the Empire, because even the Electricons themselves will have their result pushed to its breaking points when it arrives. Tamargun is a tank, he's a hard hitter, he wields an axe with great bullish strength. I mean, he's an ogre, he's maggot in an ogre body, and you can see he's pretty big over there. So those are warriors of chaos right there. On the right side, those are beastmen, pestigores, so it's basically gores with two-handed weapons. Based on the details they're giving, it does seem like Tamargun's army is going to be very, very durable. So we can see Tamargun over here in all his quote-unquote glory on his big-ass toad. Now, that's not necessarily what I want to focus on. Let me focus on this. Tamargun's chieftains. So over here we can see that there are some unit caps tied to the chieftains. You can also see all the chieftains right here at the top, all 6 of them. So you have Case the Befalt, who's the legendary hero over here. And you can see certain chieftain actions, so you can enable attrition for armies in the current enemy province, and you also have a chance of spreading plagues to all armies plus 20% once you get fealty increased to a higher level. How do you increase fealty? Well, you need to do certain actions. So you can create plagues to increase fealty. You can also defeat warriors of chaos, Khorne, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, or Norska in a battle. That's going to be interesting. So they've chosen to put that. So I really, really wonder where he's going to start. Maybe in the northern Castways. I mean, we do got the Nurgle faction over there in the north next to Archeon. And it's not really a horrible situation because you could actually just go from Archeon, assuming that's the case. We don't know, right? Campaign movement range. Trait for his own army, 10% campaign movement range, charge bonus for himself, and the wasting sickness. And then you can see all the various actions, like you can unlock Chariots of Nurgle, Talisman, and trait for him, Chieftain ability, Rotten Knights, +1 Chariots, and then other things as well. So more Rotten Knights over here that we can unlock later on. And what Creative Assembly is saying over here, with the body of Karaka, Break Mountain on his own, his knowledge, Tamargun's knowledge is matched only by his strength, and he will use both to gather the strongest warriors in the world has ever seen and adopt in his own twisted army, absorbing the many strengths of those that could not defeat him. So you can see over here, like, that kind of look like that's either Warrior of Chaos or a vampire of some kind, which would be weird because Nurgle hates vampires, but still, like, you know, I'm kind of getting some vampire vibes there. Like, we get a Finir, werewolf, we get a dwarf by looks of it, cast dwarf, most likely over there. And there is a mention regarding that. So using 2 key resources, dominance and fealty, Tamargun can decide how best to manage his acquired chieftains. Dominance, the main resource, is gained from winning battles. This must be spent to acquire chieftains, activate their abilities, and add their units to his own recruitment pool. Pretty good. So Nurgle is going to keep his own unique recruitment pool, which is global. That's going to be good. It is not a bad system in theory. It was just always the execution of that system that was the problem. More on that later. The fealty of chieftain is increased by taking actions that chieftain approves of. So raiding settlements, raising all that. Raiding is kind of annoying, but there are multiple actions you can do. So if Tamargun seeks to devote the chieftain from the cast dwarfs, so yeah, this guy is a cast dwarf right here, he'd best express the same hatred for the Skaven as they do. Yeah, everyone hates the Skaven, like, but so do the Skaven hate the cast dwarves, which is kind of weird, because, like, Skaven actually get along reasonably well with evil factions, but, well, everyone hates the castors as well, so mutual hatred. When their fealty increases, Tamarkun can reap the benefits in favor, units, special abilities, so favor, gold, culminating in a mighty thematic quest battle on his path to gaining boundless loyalty from these great warriors. Hopefully the quest battle this time around will be better than the ones we got in Shadows of Change, because, yeah, those weren't particularly great. Though, the Cast Dwarf one was pretty good, so hopefully it's more along those lines. I mean, I would not necessarily play it a lot of times, but that's why we get Auto-Resolve Quest Battles mod. That's why that exists. So, Kay's the Befouled, Kurgan, Champion of Nurgle. Interesting. So, he is not a Warrior Chaos Champion, he's a Kurgan one. And, yeah, as I stated in my previous video, this guy's basically between, like, the way he looks like he's between a Warrior of Chaos, or, though in this case, a Norscan Champion, and Spawn, basically. He's a tank, he regenerates in combat, and he's granted increased fort save when above a certain health threshold. Speaking about combat ability, Tamarkun, he's kind of, I think, like the way you can read his ability, he's kind of like Tyrion's ability. So Tyrion has an item that when he's about to die, he regenerates HP. That's kind of how it feels like with that. Then you get Cast Lord of Nurgle, Cast Sorcerer of Nurgle. Yeah, they're really going with that one. Plague Priest indeed, right there. Pestigors, so you get, yeah, Beastmen of Nurgle. Now, it's interesting that they mention that these guys are durable. So you get Sangors that are fairly durable. Now you get Pestigors. This is really going to help the Beastmen, because Beastmen actually do need more durable units. I mean, Sangors are obviously available, but we'll see when you can get Pestigors. If you can get these guys earlier on in a Beastmen campaign than Sangors, that's actually going to help a lot of the early game for Beastmen, because Beastmen, yeah, a lot of their early game units are pretty terrible. So still, their Blessed with Mutation Tears and Nurgle passive Chain Hex may only be triggered once, activating when within range of an immune, resulting in infectious secretions from... Okay, I'm going to stop that. So Vanguard deployment and other intrinsic trait of Pestigor. They don't follow the pack, they lead it. And then, yeah, Ogres. Big, tanky Ogres. Very, very durable. Which, yeah, that's what Ogres are. Then you get Run Knights. So it's interesting, if you read the wiki on these guys, you would get the impression that they're Horse Masters, more or less. But no, they're not Horse Masters. They're Chaos Knights. Basically a variant of the Chaos Knights on a special mount over there. And then, yeah, Bile Trolls, Trolls of Nurgle. I mean, cool model, don't get me wrong on that, but yeah, they're Trolls of Nurgle, more or less. And then Toad Dragons, those look absolutely disgusting. But what's really important from my perspective over here with Nurgle is not the new units or his unique mechanics, it's what lies down here. See, this is the part of the post that makes me really excited. So, before we wrap up this grim tale of Tamarkun and all things Nurgle, we wanted to address something that's important to both us and you and the players. So we've taken in lots of feedback from our prior DLC regarding legacy race updates, and we're committed to making the rejuvenation of those races' core mechanics a key element with the release of Thrones of Decay. So here's what they've done for Nurgle, for both, for the Grandfather's Lords, both present and future. So yeah, Kugaf is actually going to be really happy with this. So much for Helm and Gorst. So first off, we got Plagues, and an entire Plague rework that's going to be combining various effects. This reminds me of Grom's Cauldron. It's basically Grom's Cauldron used for Nurgle, for all Nurgle factions. Probably Festus as well. Yeah, Festus likely as well. So, the problem with the original system is that it was solvable. There was an objectively strongest road to take and no need to deviate from it to maximize the benefits and minimize the drawbacks. Yep, that's the thing. It was pretty annoying. Kind of useless, actually, and like, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The best plague in the game is not a Nurgle plague, which is bizarre. The best plague in the game is the Skaven plague. I mean, again, backfire and blow up in your face, as all things Skaven. But that thing between the attrition, the loss of growth, the loss of income is really painful. It's the only plague that I actually am terrified to deal with as a player. Every Nurgle plague that exists in the game is meaningless. Like, I'm not afraid of Nurgle. Like, yeah, you might take attrition from the corruption when moving in Nurgle territory. The actual plagues of Nurgle, which should be really damaging, not so much. But now we get mix and matching between plagues over here. So different benefits over here. So the one they're showcasing here. So if you use it on non-Nurgle factions, all units suffer attrition. This one, reduce speed, reduce battle healing cap. Might make it more easier to deal with Vlad. Or a certain necromancer that starts close enough to you. Can't imagine why. Right? I mean, that's the thing about Gorst. The zombies are just zombies. They heal so much. That's the problem when dealing with them. So much for that. The battle healing cap is gonna come in. Gorst. That's gonna be fun. Plague symptoms now exist within a web. Certain symptoms. So, okay. There's a new type of system, blessed symptoms that are assigned randomly and change with every plague cycle and symptom, while blessed has its effect doubled. And plagues can now be mutated with increased effects, increased spread chance, extended duration, and much more. And now have immunity period so that those on the receiving end of being plagued aren't constantly under its effect and have a respite between bouts. Okay. And Kugaf is going to benefit greatly from the system. He's uniquely able to have many blessed systems active at once. So, yeah, if you're looking to play Kugaf with Thrones of Decay based on what's written here, what we're seeing here, Kugaf is going to be much more powerful. But plagues are not really what screwed over Nurgle. I mean, they weren't as powerful as they should be, but it was other problems, recruitment and economy. And guess what? They actually are fixing the economy and the recruitment. So, cyclical buildings. This is exactly what they're saying. His unique cyclical buildings has led to some unique and thematic gameplay strategies when it comes to recruitment, but we felt it had a negative impact on their economy and defensive capabilities. Yeah, let's just say Nurgle was the worst race by far, was voted consistently as the worst race by far in the game at the moment. So this needed fixing, and it is fixed. So military buildings are still cyclical, but all remaining buildings are now static like other factions in the game. Thank you. So we have a stable, solid economy. Military buildings now cost infections instead of treasury. So instead of spending thousands of gold, 10,000 gold on an advanced military building, 5,000 a basic one, you get to spend infections. I'm curious about the cost, but certainly just splitting it up between infections and treasury is really going to help your economy in a very major way with respect to this. Especially one of the problems that Nurgle has. See, Nurgle can vassalize factions for diplomacy, but because buildings were so expensive, that wasn't really a viable option because you were going to spend a fortune to do it, and no one could keep your buildings. Another problem is when you took settlements, you didn't get any building whatsoever, so this was what made it worse. Now, I'm curious to see how that's going to work when you take over factions' buildings, but just the fact that you're going to improve the situation from like a cost perspective already helps significantly. They've also done an economy pass on buildings to help with Nurgle's difficult financial situation. Yeah, this is what I want to see from Creative Assembly. Fixing issues that are obvious to anyone playing the freaking game instead of just like, oh, here's this cool unit or new cool lord or all that. No, fixing fundamental problems. Resource buildings have had an effect overall because, yeah, they're pretty mediocre. I mean, hero capacity is nice, but other stuff not so great. So hopefully we'll get money from that or increase in productivity, whatever. Curious about the hero capacity, how that's going to be handled, if they're going to nerf that or keep it as it is. Maybe they should keep it as it is. Hopefully they do. The remaining cyclical buildings can now be rushed by spending infection. So you get instant construction to be able to get... I'm curious to see how this is going to be in the sense like, okay, so are we just going to be able to get the cycle going faster, which means we'll be able to recruit things faster. That's the reason. But just the fact you have a stable economy, and most likely, if I'm reading this correctly, like hopefully this is the case, we're just going to have multiple tiers of buildings, so we won't have to spend a lot of money right off the bat. Though, even if we have just a single tier of buildings, just the fact we have stable economy, we don't have to spend money on military buildings anymore, that is significant. And then finally, recruitment. Oh, yes. So we get... so now what's happening is the health of a unit is tied to Nurgle corruption and province. So if you have a lot of corruption, you get a recruit cost, a 50% recruitment cost, which is very, very significant because yeah, Nurgle not only had the bad economy, but also the recruitment cost of a lot of those units, or all the units, was very freaking high. One of the highest in the game, actually, because it's like we're talking global recruitment cost over there, because it's basically global recruitment. But now you got 50% recruit cost if you're at 100% corruption. You can still recruit in the field, but it's going to cost a lot more. And you also get units at the higher health with high corruption. So you can build an army in your provinces, or you take over a province, right? You're going to get 100 corruption, or you're going to get very close to that. Like if it has free settlements in it, you're going to get very close to that. And I wonder if there's anywhere in between 0 and 100 corruption. Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't necessarily matter as much. Just the fact that we can recruit units at higher HP and with a much lower cost when we have 100 corruption in provinces is going to help a ton. And then finally, the technology tree. So we got is now split into 2 distinct groups, one focused on military and the other on campaign faction bonuses. The layout has been reworked to make it clearer and easier to progress for the technology tree. And they also acknowledge the fact, yeah, the tech tree was designed for Kugaf's ROC campaign. It didn't make sense whatsoever in Immortal Empires. Now, Nurgle now gains a passive income of army ability points for every enemy unit in the battle map. That's currently okay. So we can buff, debuff some battle changes, and we're gonna get more details. And yes, the Nemesis Crown, the Epidemius, all that good stuff. How do I feel about this? It's amazing. Like, genuinely so. Like, this is amazing when you're looking at these kind of changes. It's exactly the kind of stuff CA should have been doing a while ago. Certainly the kind of stuff they should have been doing with Shadows of Change. And that's already, you know, that's already done. If you want a better... Now, maybe, hopefully in the future, they get good feedback. Like, if they do a pass like this for the Empire and Dwarves with various systems in those campaigns, and they get good feedback, maybe, hopefully, they go back, you know, fix Siege, fix Kislev, right? From that perspective, because both of them do need those fixes. But from my perspective, this looks really interesting, and hopefully, Nurgle is now going to be a really fun race to play. Hopefully, playing a campaign as Kugaf will actually be fun now. We will see. We'll find out. You'll still have to deal with Gorst with all the implications therein, and he does despise you, but I don't know. It does seem like it's going to be a tough day for playing Helm and Gorst, which is probably the way it should be. I mean, you're incredibly powerful. Vampire counts are just really a strong race at the moment in the game, so yeah, he's going to clip his wings in that situation. Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more.